Nerd. All right. Hello, YouTube. Scamp the Wolf here, back with another video for your viewing pleasure. And I'm finally going to be doing the music talk. Sorry I didn't do it last night because it was super late, but I'm doing it now. So yeah. Um, and we have three albums that were released last night. Disturbed, Divisive, Nickelback, Get Rollin', and Tallah with The Generation of Danger. Three albums that came out, and plenty of others, but I didn't get to those. I think there was a Smashing Pumpkins album that came out from their triple album that they plan on releasing the other parts to, but I didn't hear that one. I don't have much interest in Smashing Pumpkins like now as much, so there, take that for what it's worth. But anyway, yeah, let's just get started with this. We're going to start with Disturbed, um, Divisive. Now, this is their first album in 4 years since Evolution, which I understand there was people that didn't like Evolution very much. Um, in my opinion, nothing Disturbed has put out since they came out of hiatus, out of their hiatus, has been nearly as good as their older work. In my opinion, like you know, personally, like this might be unpopular. I think Evolution's probably the better than Immortalized, and it probably still is my favorite of their post hiatus albums and stuff, kind of sort of, because I feel like they did try new things and stuff on there. I don't know, maybe that's just me though. But yeah, now we have Divisive, um, which is sort of like a combination of the Sickness, 10,000 Fists, a lot of that stuff, sort of. It's not like a complete return, but like it's just like that's kind of what it sounds like sonically. Um, and is it good on that? Um, is it good at doing that? I would say, yeah, definitely. Like it is like a aggressive kind of sound for Disturb. I mean, yeah, but it's not. I don't feel like it's really as much as it should be. Like like it still sounds like modern Disturbed to me, like a little bit more than it does 10,000 Fists Disturbed, or 10,000 Fists is actually one of my least favorites from their. It actually might be my least favorite from their like early days of their work, but that again that's just me. But I'm just saying about Divisive. It is a good album. That like in that regard, like there's a lot of like single stuff. One of my complaints about this album is that if it's just an album of like singles, really, like a lot of the songs, there's not much variation in between the songs. Like you listen to like the first six songs on the album, which is like over half the album, and it's like they're all the same key, kind of. They all sound the same. Like some of them even have the same tempo. Like Batman and Divisive both have a similar tempo. And it's not like a divisive record in that way. Like, uh, that was an intentional like pun, I guess I was trying to make there, but it wasn't. It's not like like they don't differentiate as much because the formula with a lot of the songs on the album is the same. The only one that isn't like nearly the same is with "Don't Tell Me" featuring Anna Wilson of Heart. Um, because that's more like a ballad and stuff, and like it's them like a kind of like a duet ballad, and it works. I think it's a solid song. Like definitely good enough. There's nothing really on this album that is bad necessarily. It's just it kind of just is all the same, but there is some good stuff on the album. Particularly "Hey You," the first song. That's a good song to start off the album, to start the singles and everything. That was the lead off single. Also released was "Divisive," the title track, and "Unstoppable." Again, decent singles. "Unstoppable" is a decent song, I think. Not great, but it's a decent song. And "Divisive," of course, I think that's a good song, in my opinion. One of the better ones on here. Um, mm. And I do like the songs "Feeding the Fire," "Take Back Your Life," and "Won't Back Down." Those songs I think are pretty good on this album. Like they sound good. Like even though they are structurally similar to like other songs, I do think they focus better on the guitar work there. The solos are good. It's just good. David Draymond's vocals. Again, like everything is handled well. Like the production is handled solidly. I mean, Drew Folk, who goes by Wizard Blood, is basically like he does a good job with the production. Like I think he did an album from a band named Thousand Below. I think Drew Folk's production. He did a lot. He did Motionless in White album. Now he's doing a Disturbed album. It's kind of like Eric Ron doing a Godsmack album or a Bush album. Like it's interesting. Like he does a good job with the production on this album, I think. And like there are some weak moments. Part of me, I'm not really like a big fan of like necessarily. Like I know he brings back the "Down with the Sickness" noise that he did on that song, but it just like I don't know, it just doesn't like work as effectively for me. I don't know why. And then "Love to Hate" is just like so much. I feel like that song is so much like the first six songs at least on the album. Like it's so same key. Like it is so similar to like what we've heard from Disturbed, especially this portion of their career. Like it's just kind of just generic. Not bad, but generic. I think. I don't really think Disturbed has had like the one of the worst songs in the world or anything like that. Like there's nothing like cheesy like "Fire It Up" or from "Immortalized" or anything like that. Like on this album, and I guess that's a good thing. I guess, but I mean, who knows? Um, so yeah, this is a pretty solid album. It's not like a great album or anything. It's not like gonna make my best of the year. Probably an honorable mention. So yeah, it's a solid album from Disturbed. Like definitely one of their weaker albums for sure. It's not even close to like what "Believe" was or "Indestructible" or even "Asylum." But it is a pretty solid record in my opinion, despite its problems. So it's a 7 out of 10 album for me personally. So yeah, I do plan on picking this album up. Um, it'll probably have to be at Barnes and Noble though, but we'll get to that. So now we got that out of the way, we can get to everybody's most anticipated album, Nickelback, with "Get Rollin'." No, I'm just kidding. It's not really an anticipated album for a lot of people. It's yeah, Nickelback. Everybody's most hated band in the world. When, in my opinion, they're not that bad. They're not like so bad, you know, like that. They're just awful in my opinion because they have made solid stuff in the past. I think "Silver Side Up" is a solid album. I think um, "The State" is solid. They've had some songs that are like guilty pleasure, like "Photograph" is a guilty pleasure song, even though it's kind of dumb. It's a guilty pleasure. I don't really think Nickelback like I don't think Nickelback's intentions are really that. You know, they are kind of likable. Even though their material is cheesy, it is kind of like junk food. Like with all the right reasons and all that stuff. It's not the worst music in the world. Like they've never really had like the worst album or anything like that, in my opinion. Like the only reason at the time I didn't like Feed the Machine was just because it didn't live up to its expectations. But in this, with Get Rolling, I don't know if there's really that much expectation. I know they said they wanted to go heavier, but honestly, here's my opinion. If Nickelback, like, it's been 5 years since a Nickelback album has come out, and I would rather have them, like, it would be nice if they would go heavy. It would, because they're now having to try harder because people have ratted on them for so long. Like, it would be good to just have an album that's kind of just typical Nickelback, typical like all the right reasons era Nickelback. Like, and it's fun. Like Get Rollin' is a little bit fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously, like a lot of albums. It's not. There's a lot of fun with this record. I think, like, and if you know like what Nickelback is, you know exactly what you're going to get into, and it doesn't make it bad by any means. Like, sure, there's not a song on here that I would like willingly say is like the best song ever, or I would love this songs on this album for eternity or anything like that. I mean, it's not that kind of an album, you know. Songs like Those Days and Tidal Wave, like Tidal Wave is genuinely good for what it is. That song in particular, I really do like from this album. Like, it has a nice sound to it. Like, kind of islandy to fit with the whole tidal wave theme. Yeah, I do think that song is genuinely good from this record. Like, the rest of them, like Those Days, is kind of a guilty pleasure because it kind of sounds like Photograph Part 2. And, like how lovably cheesy that song is. So, yeah, it's kind of a interesting song on here. Um, Surprisingly, this album isn't really all that heavy, though. There's only really a couple of heavy moments. There's like four. San Quentin, Skinny Little Missy, High Time, and actually High Time, no, and Vegas Bob. High Time is more like country-ish. For if Nickelback has dabbled a little bit with country, so High Time, it kind of has that kind of thing. It sounds like they were trying to go for like a early neo-traditional country, like kind of like verse chorus thing with that song. Maybe that's just me, but I mean, whatever. Yeah, San Quentin kind of sounds like Never Again a little bit, but like that song's okay. It's not great or anything. It's just kind of there. Um, and you get Skinny Little Missy and Vegas Bomb, which are kind of fun, cheesy, like little songs. Like Skinny, like for example, Skinny Little Missy's about like a girl. Like a woman, obviously. And Vegas Bomb is just kind of a fun song. Yeah, that's one thing I like about this album. It doesn't really take itself too seriously, even with the ballads on here. I think I always see Nickelback as kind of like a band that likes to troll people. Like with like, hey, we're this rock band, but we do ballads and stuff as well. Like, and so it sounds like they're having fun. They're better than Theory of a Dead Man, which is another band that sounds similar. Like, that's the difference between Theory of a Dead Man and Nickelback, is that Nickelback doesn't take themselves seriously, I guess. Like, and they still sound like they're committed to it. And this album's really committed to what it does, and that's what's good about it. Like, and it's just a solid album. There's nothing that's really bad about it, in my opinion. Like, it's not like good. Like, it's not like the best album of the year. Again, it's not like gonna be in any list more than likely because it is just a Nickelback album. You know what you're gonna get, like, obviously, and that's what I think it does well. But even in saying that, like, these songs are just like kind of okay. Like, when you get to like Steel Still Rust and Horizon, it's just kind of just okay. Yeah, I get it. And then you get like one more good, solid song with just one more, which I think is kind of solid. If you like going down memory lane, I guess if you were in like if it was like 2003 or whatever, and you like the ballad side of Nickelback, and you remember hearing like "If Everyone Cared" or like "Saving Me" on the radio or something like that, like, and you just like want to like live those memories a little bit, kind of like what they were talking about on those days, the memories and stuff. Like, that's why it sounds like Photograph Part Two, because it's like all about like going back into like all the memories and stuff. Like, and it's I don't really think it's cynical. They just make music, you know. Like, this is just what it is. Like, so yeah, it's not a bad record at all. I think it is pretty solid. Surprisingly enough, um, a lot of people might not expect me to say that about Nickelback's new record, but it's not really that bad. It's pretty decent in my opinion. So yeah, there you go. So it's a 6 out of 10 in my opinion. Like, that's not a super high score, but I mean, like, I did give it some credit. Like, I would have gone 7 out of 10, but I didn't want to be too overly optimistic about it. But yeah, it is one of the better mainstream rock ish kind of albums of the year. Certainly better than Papa Roach, Skillet, like even 3 Days Grace, I think, surprisingly enough. So yeah, pretty good album from pretty solid album from Nickelback. I won't, in good conscience, say it's good, like, but it's decent. It's decent, in my opinion. So, and now we get to an album that I think is pretty good in the form of Tallah with their second album, The Generation of Danger. Now, I talked about a lot of rock um, on this video um, with Disturbed and Nickelback. Like, this is taking it into a completely different direction. This is new metal. This is heavy as shit music. You know, like, this album, like, really doesn't give you a break. Like, and you'll probably like that about this album, the new Tallah record. Like, it's a continuation of their previous album, Metriphagy, whatever how you pronounce it. Their first album, which was also pretty aggressive, pretty heavy on the new metal, like pretty dark, pretty like yeah, it's a super dark. This band's material is like super dark and super like and that's what they do well. Their lead singer has a lot of versatility in his voice, like in his screaming vocals and all that. Sometimes it can get a little irritating in some aspects, but like even with that, there's still so many good grooves on this album that I enjoy, like from tracks like The Hard Reset, Stomping Grounds, Shaken Not Stirred, and stuff. Like even tracks like Telescope and Head First. Even though I don't know if Head First is one of the best songs on the album, I'm just saying like it is entertaining for sure. I guess. Yeah, he just goes like Justin Bonnet, I think his name is. He just goes all over the place on his vocals. Like, he's doing a super low on one track, and then he's going to a super high. Then he's like vocalizing a lot. Like, you would have to hear it to hear what I'm talking about. There's a couple of moments on this album where I'm just like, uh, wow, like Oh, wow! I don't know somebody could do that. Like, I had that face when like listening to it. Like, and yeah, it's like a very varied vocal performance in my opinion. Like, definitely solid. Like, everything is done very well in this album. Like, there's not a lot of like. It's not like one of the. I keep saying that about every album that I could review. Like, it's like there are a couple of like small issues, like the guitar squeaking, which I think is intentional to set the like abrasiveness of everything, and how like there's a couple moments where it does get a bit irritating, like in Wendred, for example. Like, it starts off with that, I'm just uh, like it's kind of like super annoying. It's like, just stop. You know, but that song eventually does get more interesting, like as it like goes on, like, and its vocals on that song like are very like good, like very well, like rounded. I don't know how else to describe it. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, so yeah, there's definitely a lot of good on this album. I think just and I think this is probably the best album that was released this week. Um, there's not much I need to say about it. Like, I do think it's slightly better than Matriphagy, because like, even though there's some great songs though, that one like Overconfidence, Placenta, LED, Kungan, even like Murder Seed, which is a good song. Like, there's a lot of great songs in that album. I think this album like expands their sound better. It's better produced. Even like the guitar squeaking is better produced. It's not like blaringly loud on most tracks. That is, like, it's better produced, like a little bit, like, because Josh Schroeder as a producer really does a good job with the mix and everything like that. And the concept is very good, kind of like their previous album. Like, they're both concept albums, and I think they do pretty well with this. Like, I think Tallah is one of the more unique bands in the new metal revivalist kind of thing, and even in like the metalcore and stuff. When it's Tallah's like one of the bands that's making it interesting again. Like, their slogan is "making metal disturbing again," and like they're doing a good job at making it like disturbing. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe a band is actually doing this. Like, they're not generic. You know, it's not like something you listen to. It's like, oh, well, this is like just a bunch of breakdowns and like Emir style vocals. No, this is like a very well made album, and it's very heavy. And if you don't like how heavy it is and how loud it is, then it probably won't be for you. But as someone who likes new stuff and like music that's like original, kind of like unique, then this album will be great for you. So my rating is an 8 out of 10 for this record. Definitely recommended. And that's pretty much it for the, this video. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about the three albums: Disturbed, Nickelback, and Tallah, and anything else that came out this week, even in other genres. So that's pretty much it for this video. So this is Scam from Wolf signing out. Take care. And I'm done.